so much. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Meghna, and thank you for joining the session. I'm very excited to have you participate, and please feel free to put things in the chat or raise your hands if you want to ask questions. I'm okay since it is more of a networking session. Interaction and questions are welcome, so you will not interrupt me. But I wanted to talk about education for sustainable development, which is sort of a broad topic. But after giving the introduction, I wanted to give an example of a specific way that North Texas has implemented education for sustainable development at a regional level with local partnerships. And it is a model that can be replicated not just in an academic environment, but at a local government scale as well, if that is of interest to you. And, after the session is ended, if anybody is interested or need help with it, we can connect over email. Okay, how do I go? I'm trying to go. All right. So my name is, can you see it? I don't know if this is blocking. Okay. So my name is Meghna. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for University of Texas at Arlington, and my contact information is below. But I do sustainability in operations for campus, like various programs related to recycling, transportation, food recovery networks, energy efficiency, engagement with faculty and staff, incorporating sustainability in curriculum. But then I also do a lot of projects which are in partnership with organizations outside of UTA, like North Central Texas Council of Governments, EPA, local governments, nonprofits, and other academic institutions. So it has been an exciting journey. And this presentation for the RCE North Texas is actually part of my work at UT Arlington. So I wanted to give a brief overview of where things have been for the past 20 years and, what's the scenario looking like for the next 10 years, right? So everybody knows about the MDGs, which are known as the Millennium Development Goals, which were sort of established and adopted in 2000 by the world leaders who gathered at the United Nations. And the idea was to fight poverty at many dimensions. And the world leaders at the UN came up with 8 goals. They were known as the MDGs. And I've listed them here. They were to eradicate poverty and hunger, provide universal education, promote gender equality and empowering women, reducing child mortality, improving maternal health, combating diseases like malaria, HIV, environmental sustainability, and a global partnership. So the MDGs framework had sustainability as one part or one goal of the 8 goals that were adopted by these leaders. And it was very successful. The United Nations have put a report out there which shows how successful they were and what were the targets and how much was achieved. If you're interested, I've put the links in there for you to access. But using the success of the MDGs, everybody decided, the world leaders decided at the UN 2030, came up with the UN 2030 agenda, because you build from the success of a framework and you take it forward. So the UN SDGs were adopted, and partly because the MDGs were more focused on eradicating poverty and focusing on health, but things like emissions of greenhouse gases or access to clean drinking water or management of water resources were not part of the MDG. So the United Nations adopted the UN SDGs in the 2030 agenda so that we could focus more on the concept of sustainable development and consider the relationship between nature and society and include equity, social equity in the conversation, in addition to environmental and economic conversation. So everybody knows about the UN SDG. I just put infographic here which shows what were or what are those 17 goals, the global goals for sustainable developments, and the 169 targets that these goals have. And you can find and read about them anywhere. I've included a few links, including a YouTube video that you can watch. So, what are these 17 goals? Goal one is to end poverty, which was also part of the MDGs. End hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for everyone at all ages. Equality, inclusive and quality education for all to promote lifelong learning. Achieve gender equality and empower women and girls. Again, this was also part of the MDGs. Ensure success to water and sanitation for all, which is also important in fighting diseases like malaria. Ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment, and decent work for all. Goal 9 is to build resilient infrastructure to promote innovation. Goal 10 is to reduce inequality within and among countries. 11 is to make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. 12 is to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. Goal 13 is to combat climate change, which has been a focus past few months. Number 14 is to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and the marine resources. 15 is to manage forest, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, and halt biodiversity loss. 16 is to promote just, peaceful, and inclusive societies. And 17 is to foster global partnership for sustainable development, which was also part of MDGs. Right, so these the 2030 SDG goals, they are very, the reason why they are so effective, in my opinion, is because they are integrated with each other and they foster collaboration. So it's not just people, planet, and profit, but partnership is an important part of the UN 2030 SDG goals agenda, and peace, which I think is very important. So, like I said, each goal is important in itself because each goal has specific number of targets that you can work towards. But the reason they are important and very effective is because they are all interconnected. So, if you work towards one goal, you are also helping achieve and implement some other goal in the UN SDGs framework. So, for example, if you're working towards water conservation, you also help with climate change. Or if you are working towards reducing consumption and production, you also make an impact towards good health and well-being, or ending poverty, which is goal number 1. And that's the beauty of these goals, that they are very interdependent. So one of the very important goals, so I'm in the business of education. So for me, SDG 4, which focuses on quality education, is the driving factor. And it's very important to me because it ensures that there is quality education and promotion of lifelong learning and opportunities for all. And the RCE that I'm going to talk about uses education, quality education, UN SDG goal number 4 as the basis for it, right? So I wanted to talk about something called the Regional Center of Expertise, also known as RCEs. So when I say RCEs, I'm saying Regional Center of Expertise on Education for Sustainable Development, ESD. So this was launched by the United Nations University based in Japan in an attempt to support the UN SDGs. And what RCEs do is it is sort of a capacity building and a collective impact over the region, moving the needle on sustainable development at a more regional scale, right? So the idea is that the challenges that I have in North Texas might not be the same that somebody has in California or somebody has it on the East Coast, because every region has its unique challenge. And so the idea is you move the needle on sustainable development using education based on ba- uh, based on your regional challenges, and which is why it is called as the regional center of expertise for education on sustainable development. And the idea is, even though you are using a platform of the United Nations UN SDGs, you are actually making an impact at at a regional level, focusing on the regional challenges and the resources that you have at your region. So here's a map. As of today, there are 179 RCEs around the world, and I've put a map. This is from the website directly. So I've listed the website at the bottom, the rcenetwork.org. And so there are 179 RCEs across the world. And if you can see on the map, you can see North Texas is literally on the map. So there are very few RCEs in the US. I think we added one or two new RCEs this year, but they are a lot spread in Asia and Europe. And so I think it's very important for us to implement this model and adopt this model of having sustainable development at a regional scale using education as a tool. So why did I launch RCE North Texas at academic institution UT Arlington? Well, it is an education-driven framework, right? So UT Arlington was already committed to a lot of sustainability efforts in operation, in education, in curriculum, in collaboration, and so it seemed like a natural fit. And I also wanted to sort of do some regional partnerships with other sectors, right? So usually everybody kind of works in silos, but I wanted to bring together public sector, private sector, some grassroots organization, nonprofits, and other academic institutions in the region to come together to do and help sustainable development in the region. It also helps create like a research database, a stakeholder map. My aim was to do a lot of education and training, do a gap analysis of what is the need for the region and what do we need to do to move forward and help with those needs, and how do we do it, who can be partnered in this, and then also host meetings, webinars, conferences, and sort of share ideas, knowledge, and expertise. And I'll share a few conferences that we have been planning recently. So we actually created a stakeholder map for our RC, right? So the idea is you want to bring everybody as part of this conversation. So public sector, private sector, education, and nonprofit entity, right? So that's what I did. I have over 100 stakeholders in the region, around 100. We keep adding new ones, and the old ones kind of leave for whatever reason, change in jobs or other commitments. But we created a map of, okay, who is part of our network, which sector, private sector, and collectively as a group, the North Texas decided that you cannot work on all the 17 goals. That's just impossible because you are setting up yourself for failure, right? So we decided collectively as a group that we will focus on only 3 SDGs. So we decided we'll do SDG 3, good health and well-being, SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. And so we created a stakeholder map to see which partner, which of our stakeholders was actually doing work in all these 3 SDGs. So we asked them to fill out a form or went to their website to do a research about what are the programs they have, what are the initiatives they have, and then kind of did a stakeholder map to come up with all the stakeholders engaged, involved, and all the SDGs, the 3 SDGs that they are making an impact in the region. And so as part of this, we have outreach, which is, I think, really important. The fact that I'm doing this presentation here is outreach because we want people to be aware of it. We want people to be engaged with it. And so we do networking sessions, which we have not done in the past year because of the pandemic. But before that, we used to host social networking events, meetings and webinars and some presentations where people can come and listen to what's happening. And this, kind of was on a broad topic: food waste, using some tools for sustainable development at a local level, energy efficiency, citizen climate change. So it was on a variety of topics using those three SDGs as our guidance. And then one of the important requirement or part of having an RCE by the United Nations UNU is you actually have a youth network as part of your RCE. And the idea is that you want the youth to be involved in the regional work because they are our future, right? They are the ones who are going to drive the progress 10 years from now. So you want them to be part of the network, not just focused on education, but a lot of service learning projects or capstone projects to bring them into the network. And then we also do a little bit of research. So one of our stakeholder had reached out to us saying, it's a nonprofit organization, saying they wanted to do some research on developing water quality report cards for a Trinity River here in North Texas. And so we worked collectively. We got a PhD graduate student to work on the research. We reached out to all the agencies for help on data for the last 10 years to develop the water quality report card. And it was almost a year-long project, but it was very successful project, and it's so well received that we are actually trying to increase the scope and keep doing the work, and a lot of other entities are involved in the project right now. So that was a very successful research project. So as part of the youth network, we do youth network conference. We have service learning projects or projects focused on gardening and composting, and also engagement with the other RCEs of the Americas. So like I said, there are 179 RCEs across the world. And every RCE has a youth network. So the idea is that youths from RCEs North Texas are able to connect and communicate and collaborate with, say, youth from RCEs of Argentina, or say Atlanta, or India. And so we are planning on there are a lot of youth network conferences that are hosted, and we are planning on hosting one later in April or May. And this is something that the youth network started. They started a journal called Sustain Age. The idea is that you let all the young students participate in publishing work related to sustainability, right? So it could be society, environment, economy, biodiversity, composting, sustainable landscaping, but they have a platform to bring their passion across, to bring their knowledge across, and coordinate and collaborate with others. And so, the idea is to help them be part of this journey. And so, Sustain Age, this is launched by the Dallas College, who is a stakeholder and a partner in the RCE North Texas. And this project is completely led by students to focus on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And the students do research on different areas like social justice, human health, philosophy, science, technology, engineering, climate change, and even sustainability in the business world. And then I talked about the fact that we host a couple of webinar series. So last year in the month of September and October, to celebrate the UN 75th anniversary, we hosted a series of webinars. We called it the UN 75 to 2020 and Beyond Dialogue. So we hosted 3 different webinars on all 3 different goals: good health and well-being, education, and sustainable communities, and invited partners like the North Texas Food Bank to come present about how they have been tackling the shortage of food and food insecurity in an year of pandemic. So we really had a great presentation and a couple of other presentations, but I just wanted to show you a flyer here. This Monday, to celebrate World Water Day, we are having a panel presentation and series on water conservation. We have 2 or 3 different guest speakers one is from Tarrant Regional Water District, to talk about what the region is doing for water conservation and what are the programs and initiatives implemented to tackle the needs of the water needs of the increasing population for the North Texas region. And then we have received a lot of recognition. So every year, early fall, UNU requests that you submit projects uh, or initiatives that you have worked on over the past 1 year, which are then judged under various categories for awards. And so in 2020, we received award for the Trinity River Water Quality Report Card that I just mentioned, that we did in partnership with one of the stakeholder. We submitted that proposal for an award, and we got that award in 2020. And then in 2019, we did a conference on campus on sustainable model for urban watershed systems, and we submitted that, and we received another award for that in the year 2019. Here's a picture that we took on the first day of our kickoff launch for the RCE North Texas. These are all the people and the stakeholders who came together for, half a day meeting, lunch, just collaborating and talking ideas. And this is a very inspiring picture for me, which is why I keep it and share it in all my slides to tell you, show you the happy faces and the collaboration that comes out of this. This is my email, but I wanted to share something with you all, since I wanted to share the website for the RCE North Texas, so you can check it out whenever you have time. So this is our page. We have listed all the information about what the RCA is. You can find the stakeholder mapping, you can find information about the youth network, the committees that we have, the projects that we've been working on. You can download all the PDFs and the reports here. But since this is a networking session, I'm going to stop here and ask, if you have any questions or any comments or, any ideas that you all wanted to share with me. Oh, I see one chat. Anyone?
Hi, Meghna. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Yes,
hi, my name is Padu. I'm actually calling from Virginia, and I'm talking from Virginia. And very nice information that you presented. And one of the things you mentioned is you look for the local challenges. So I'm just curious what type of projects or activities that you did around the recent I don't want to say disaster, but that everybody faced in North Texas, especially with the power outage and all that. So when such things happen, how does the network react, and how do you actually re-engage your projects in working towards that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so when something like that happens, an impact as big as that requires a bigger group to come together and find solutions, right? So the conversations have actually started about what people can do, and we have started a couple of research networks to see how we can move the needle on climate change in the region. But North Central Texas Council of Governments is also a stakeholder for us, and they are working on creating tools and kind of coming up with a regional greenhouse gas emissions inventory, right? So everybody does it like an individual. What they are trying to do is come up with a regional inventory and provide the tools and the database to help everybody else be part of that. And then, we are kind of doing a couple of training sessions on that, and also how do you align your strategy for SDG for local government. So we are doing like a training cohort for that, which starts in May, and it will probably last for 6 months.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sandra, yes.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for that presentation. It was great. I have a question, Meghna, about the start of the RCE. So I don't know if you were there in terms of like when it came together, when the university submitted the application, but I'm wondering the cost and the process to become an RCE. I just went to their website and I saw there's a call for applications, and extremely collaborative, which is nice to see. It's more like a consortium of different community partners and institutions. But from the university perspective, is this your role? Is this what you do full time? Is this something that's in addition to? Do you receive funding from the school, or you seek funding through private foundations and whatnot?
No, so this is what I do in addition to everything else that I do. So this is not the only thing I do. I mean, I do sustainability and operation for UTA curriculum. This is one of the aspect, but I was the founder for this. I am the one who brought the stakeholders together, who did the application. And so it's kind of led by me, but it is supported by all the stakeholders. Everybody is a participant in it. As far as the cost goes, there is no cost to applying or doing any of this. It's all free. You can, it's your time actually is the cost of it, because it took me almost a year from the time I found out about this concept. It took me a year to draft a proposal, talk to stakeholders over coffees and lunches. This was pre-pandemic where you could actually meet people, right? So I spent an entire year meeting people, explaining the concept, and getting them to be a participant in this. And then you have to submit an application to UNU. It's the first draft, so they go over it, they'll give you feedback, and then you have a second chance to do the final submission. Based on, you have to like make the changes. So other RCs will review your application, you make those changes, and then you submit the final application, which UNU will like go over, and they will approve you. You typically get the approval by December. So we got the approval in December, and we finally kicked off the first meeting in March. But the application is very thorough. You have to list your goals, your mission, your vision, your objective. So prior to drafting the application, what I did was I did a big meeting, sort of facilitated a meeting where I invited all the stakeholders to half a day of workshop at UTA. And I formed groups, and collectively, I got a facilitator to help me with this, but collectively we came up with a vision and a mission and goals and what are the objectives, and all that goes in the application when you submit the application. You also have to list all your stakeholders. It's not a requirement, but it's advisable. It's great if you can get letters of support to be included in the application of all the stakeholders. I had, I think, 30 or 40 letters that I attached to my application of letters of support. And I'm happy to share that application with you. If you can, email me, I'll gladly share the PDF with you.
Great, thank you, I will, thank you.
Any more questions?
Let's try one.
Hey, Rafael.
Hi, I'm Rafael. I'm from the Rio de Janeiro State University. I'm a professor of economics there. And I saw on your map that there is an RCE in Rio de Janeiro. So I would like to hear you on your advice on what to do about it, since there is already one. So I don't need to apply for one. And what I have nowadays is just a bunch of very motivated students to do social change, and myself. That's what we have. And we are doing a lot, actually. The students created an organization of themselves, and they invited me to take part in it. And nowadays I coordinate it just formally, but they are the ones making the things. And we won a competition, so we are creating an app for poor community, like to match poor people to local services in education, in health in particular. So we are doing stuff, and we want to do more. So, but we have no funding, no support, and an RCE in Rio. So what can we do? What would you suggest us to do?
So what I would do, first of all, you can contact that RCE, so the rcenetwork.org page, it has, every RCE has a profile. You can go to the profile of the RC that you're interested in. They will have a contact information there. Like for the RCE North Texas, my email and contact information is on the page. So you can contact them, tell them you heard about this presentation and you want to be part of the RCE. I'm telling you, they will be more than happy to have you on board and join the RCE. Perhaps, they have committees, they have a research group. I'm pretty sure they have a youth network. You can, bring some of the ideas how you want to engage. As for funding and partnership, getting monies, sometimes some of the partners, like in my case, RCE North Texas, I have a lot of private sector partners. which is very unusual. A lot of the RCs that I know, they don't have private sector as much involved as RCE North Texas. And that was one of the sort of very important factor when we submitted the application. We actually got the feedback saying yours is the only application that has so many private sector people. And they are the people sometimes who support, my RCE in terms of, in-kind support, right? So when I host meetings and stuff, they will host it at their session. They will provide lunch to 50 people who are coming, right? One interface carpet is our stakeholder, and they even provided, or they were offering us a 10 people full paid trip to Atlanta for like a leadership retreat to learn about LEED gold buildings and LEED certifications and how sustainability is done in building and operations. So most of these stakeholders, especially the private stakeholder, are willing to provide in-kind support. But the beauty and benefit of having an RC is you can collectively apply for a lot of fundings, lot of foundation funding, available in your region. Because what happens is when you and I apply as an individual person, there is not much chance, right? But when you apply as an RC with, group together coming in, people always see the value in it, right? Because you are trying to create partnerships in the region, and that's always a good way to apply for funding, and it's quite successful actually.
Perfect.
Yeah, but do reach out to the RCs. You can even collaborate with the other RCs. I've been thinking about doing service learning projects in collaborations with other RC, or the student exchange program that you have, right? You can reach out to the other RCs and tell, hey, we have a student exchange program. We want to partner with you. Is there a way for us to send our students to come work with your RCs? And I think that they will be open to that idea. Any more questions? In specific, I have one question from Jose who says, in specific case of cooperations between UNU-IAS, does UTA have cooperation with other universities? How do the UNU-IAS cooperate with each other? Yes, it is that we have cooperation and collaborations with other universities, with other RCEs. So I work very closely with RCE of Atlanta, RCE of Portland, RCE of Coastal Carolina on a variety of projects. In fact, last year, UNESCO was planning to have the World Conference on Education for Sustainable Development. And together, the RCs of the Americas, we prepared a presentation and submitted it. So there is a lot of collaboration that happens. And there's an annual conference that happens so that RCs meet and collaborate. So there is a RC of the America conference that happens. So every region has their own conference every year. And then there's a global conference that happens every 2 years where all the RCs of the world come together. So the global conference is happening this year. I don't know if it's in person, virtual, but it's planning to happen in November in Scotland, I believe. RC of the Americas, last year we met in Burlington. The year before that, we met in person in Vermont, Burlington. Last year, RC Salisbury hosted it virtually. In 2018, I actually went to Argentina for the RCs of the America conference because RC Argentina hosted the conference. So there is room for collaboration. Like there's always meetings, regional and national, but there is a lot of collaboration at your end, a lot of projects, because sometimes I'm like trying to implement a project and I don't know how to do it. And then I see that, oh, this RC has done it. So I always reach out to them and say, hey, you have this project going on climate change. Can you share your proposal? Can you tell me how you did it? And people are willing to do that. And we also formed RC governance committee for RC of the Americas, where, we have created a stakeholder group and various task force for sustainable cities and communities where people are involved and doing work that is of value to them or they want to be part of. And then we collectively meet once a year. So there's a lot of collaboration that happens. Any more questions?
Let me try another one then.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the projects in themselves to give us some concreteness about what exactly you run? So you mentioned co-posting. Can you just give a few
Yeah.
examples?
So it depends on what the projects come to us depending on who your stakeholders are, right? So, I mean, I don't have any formal application process. It's just like, hey, I need help with this. Can you help? So there's Trinity Coalition that reached out to us, through through our interaction. We just had a meeting, a conversation like, this is my need. They had some funds. Actually, they funded a graduate student assistant. So they had some funds to help with that. And we just went there from there. There was a project that was conducted as part of a class assignment with North Texas Food Bank to study the, food sector in North Texas, and that was done in partnership with UTD. City of Plano had reached out to us. They wanted to do a sort of a business case study about food waste, how they can reduce the food waste in restaurants. And so what I did was I got the problem statement from them. I contacted a faculty at the College of Business and said, hey, do you want to do this as a semester long project with your students? This is the problem statement. This is the solution that the city is looking for. And at the end of the semester, perhaps you can do like a presentation or the findings and the recommendations that the city can then use and implement. So, it's a win-win for all because faculties are always looking for ideas and projects, right? So, and the students are excited about it, right? So, so they did that. And, right now I'm working on the SDG cohort planning where we got some cities involved, and I have two really good PhD students and we want two students to help with this, and I said, do you want to work with us? And they are more than happy to work with me. So it's sort of what you make out of it or what you do with it, and the meetings that you have, or the more information you present to the people, the more people are aware of it. And I wanted to actually I'll quickly drop a link for a summit that we are planning. It's on March 31st. If any one of you are interested in it, I would be happy to have you. I'm going to drop the link in the chat window, but this is our annual summit that we are hosting in virtual. And we have the UN Secretary General Satya Tripathi as our keynote speaker for this event on March 31st. And what we are trying to do is, bring together experts who are part of our network to talk about the work that they have been doing. So we have BNSF Railways, VP for BNSF Railways presenting, North Texas Food Bank presenting. We have a faculty at UTA presenting, somebody from Dallas College is presenting. And I have so far I've received 150 registration for this event, which is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Do you fund any sort of support for the students taking part in it?
Support in sense of what?
Financial grants or something?
No, I haven't done that yet.
Do they join just for the sake of helping or
capacity building,
collaboration, or just for learning, or?
Yeah, people join in because they, I mean, you'd be surprised to see how much everybody struggles working in silos with the resources that they have, right? I mean, we are an academic institution, so we have the resources of faculty, experts, and students, right? Cities don't have that, but they have the knowledge expertise. So the collaboration is what brings everybody to the table. The capacity building is what brings everybody to the table. The fact that we have conferences like this, some of the projects that we have implemented, they get help, so nobody comes in for the money, and we don't charge for membership because I think that would really stop people from joining, right? In the future, I do have intention of applying for some foundation funding, for some grant funding, but so far it's been okay. With the in-kind support that I get, from the stakeholders, it's been okay. And there are different models. So RCE Portland, they actually turned even though it springed out of the Portland Community College, they actually turned it into a nonprofit. They got an executive director and a full-time staff, and they turned it into a nonprofit. So if that's the path you want to go, that's fine. But my feeling was, if you turn it into a nonprofit, then some of the resources that I use of the university, including the space to meet, that is not possible, right? Because then it's a nonprofit, right? It complicates the situation. Yeah, thanks, Jose. He says that he will research some universities that are part of this program. And I'm happy to help. My email, I'm going to type it again here so everybody has access to it. But feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help any way I can. Any more questions? I love the project. I love the RCE. It's been 3 years. We launched in 2019, actually 2 years, but we have made progress.
Yeah. I have to levantar a mão. I just have a question about how far are the RCEs near from the civil society? So also in the other countries. So I see here that the organization in Brazil is near from the Industrial Federation here. It's not so society near organization, how to say, how the UNESCO control or promote some actions near from the civil society in the other countries. Also, Brazil is a urge country, and also the RCEs are concentrated in Sudeste from Brazil, so Rio, São Paulo, and Curitiba, the industrial area, and you have some other areas to act here. And I know that you are from Texas and something, but how UNESCO act in this direction, say, in your view and your knowledge?
No, they don't. They don't because it's a regional center, right? The work is driven by you, so they don't interfere or tell you what to do. It's up to you what you want to do. Okay, I'm going to put the link for the RCE. And then this is the link for our RCE North Texas. Any more questions? Well, thank you so much. Oh, I have a question.
Hi, this is again from Japan right now. So I'm just interested in the general sustainable age student journal. It's an interesting attempt to develop the youth capacity to the future. But here is my question. Can I join the activity from Japan?
Yeah, and I think it's a United Nations university, so they do have a lot of research program. They even have a PhD program and like a doctoral program that they offer in sustainability, and they have lots of research fellows. So yeah, I think you can reach out to them, see how you can be part of it, and be engaged with them. It's listed on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, so I'm Ashoka Japan, some member of Ashoka Japan. So and Ashoka Japan has youth venture program for almost 2 decades running, and then so there are many alumni from youth venture program, and so I ask what I ask you is. Those alumni from your special program. So probably early 20, late 20. In the past, there were your special activists, and also some of them are still working in the social entrepreneur in the place where tsunami and Fukushima nuclear plants exploded. And then so they always looking for outlet to express their activity in the global stages.
Yeah, and I think this is a good platform because they can engage with other RCEs, and not just, implementation. I mean, if you have a great idea that you think you can collaborate with other people.
Yes, yes.
The members of the RCs, that's the joy of working because everybody is so open to collaboration and ideas are working together. There's kind of this hunger for, working together, and that it is very effective. Even you can engage to the youth network. And
Yes.
I wanted to address the question for Siobhan that she has from Canada, which she's
Mhm.
talking about the same thing. It's like I've developed virtual workshops that teach youth about the 17 SDGs. I'm currently working with 8 kids in my community. What advice can you give me?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of RCs in Canada as well. We work with them very closely. You can reach out to them. There are lots of RCs who will develop programs for K through 12, training programs for K through 12. We also have the GEMIN, the United Nations Model United Nations based in Dallas, which hosts the annual conference where you can engage these K through 12 kids to come together. So you can do that. You can bring the idea, that, hey, I want to start a community garden, right? Or I want to start a composting program, and the RCs will help you.
Actually, they don't have any MBA program, master program, and PhD degree, but can they join the program?
Yeah. We have a lot of RCs. Yeah, they can absolutely do that. And if you email me, I'll connect you to the leader of the youth network directly, who will be happy to help you out. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. That's great.
Okay, I have another chat question from Matt. I live in an area of the United States that has had its water supply decimated by industry. How would an RC help us move forward? So Matt, I think what you will have to do is you'll have to reach out the agencies that are working on water conservation or resource conservation on those regions, and probably as an RCE, I would reach out to them and say, hey, what are some of the issues and the challenges that you have, and how can we help? If you're part of an academic institution, you have the research expertise of the faculty. For example, Tarrant Regional Water District is a stakeholder of the RCEs, and they participate with us. They are the ones who are doing the presentation for the World Water Day on Monday. But it's really a conversation that gets started. It's like, what are your challenges? What are the resources you have, and how can I help? Because depending on the resources at your end, research, faculty, student volunteers, you can partner with them and help out. So I would say, just have a conversation with them and see how can you be part of it. Any more questions? I'm so glad I had these questions because sometimes it's not possible to put everything in slides and do a presentation. So, I think good conversations happen from this kind of an interaction. And I think we have all been trained into talking to people over Zoom now. So, but yeah, I enjoyed this presentation. Thank you for all the questions. If you still feel you need more answers, feel free to email me. I can share all the documents I have. The RC website has everything that you need. The RC Global website has everything that you need, including contact information for every RCE. And you can even look at their profile forms and you can see the projects. It's pretty accessible and open to everyone. Oh, I'm curious about your background and about how you get paid. Who is your boss or who pays your salary? So I have a master's in environmental science. I have a master's in chemistry, and I have an MBA in sustainable management. And I've been with UTA for 11 years now, and I report to the vice president for campus administration for finance. And I'm not embedded in facilities management or in the academic sector. So I have my own independent department with employees and student volunteers that work with me through the student organization Mavs Go Green. But yes, my salary comes from UTA, but UTA is very supportive of all the sustainability programs and initiatives that happens. And so UTA was very supportive of this. So yes, I feel like I have a lot of jobs, but I really enjoy them. And, the people and the work at UTA drives it a lot. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I know we have 10 minutes before you have to move on to the next session, but I'll be here. If you have more questions, you have my email. Thank you so much for joining the session. I really enjoyed it. Thank you all. Take care. Be well.